Hey folks, here we are again, another week. Through the power of the interwebs, I'm back at ya. And we're not starting out at home today because I forgot to start recording at home. And I was up in the north end of town. I had a small errand to run, so I started recording when I got back in the truck from that. So here we are. And we're heading down to Water Street here, about to make a right. And the first place that we're going to be going, as you can see by the title of the video, this is part 2 on my church's series. What the hell is a Siri? Ah, that's what a Siri is. Yes, my iPad just responded to that. Anyway, yeah, gotta be careful saying stuff like that. Anyway, so the first church that we're gonna hit this morning is St. Paul's Anglican Church, located at 808 Ridgeway Street East at the corner of McKellar Street in Thunder Bay. It is part of the Anglican Diocese of Algoma and the Thunder Bay North Shore Deanery. I'll get more into the history once we get there. I'm going to try and do it at the same time as the pictures are showing up on the screen this week. Hopefully I can do it without overrun. So for now, I'm going to hand you over to Gary until we get there. Okay, so here we are. St. Paul's Anglican Church's history can be traced back to the early 20th century, with one of its most notable features its bell tower, established in 1910, when 7,200 pounds of bells were shipped from New York via rail. These bells, a rare feature for churches between Winnipeg and Toronto, have since become a defining characteristic rung by volunteers for Sunday services and special occasions. So that's pretty cool. The church is an example of neo-Gothic architecture in the High Anglican tradition, characterized by its stunning stained glass windows and well-maintained grounds, which contribute to its status as a Thunder Bay landmark. The exact date of the church's founding is not specified in the sources, but its architectural style and the installation of the bells suggest it was established in the late 19th or early 20th century, aligning with the growth of Anglican communities in northwestern Ontario during that period. St. Paul's is renowned for its beautiful structure, particularly its stained glass windows, which are a highlight for visitors and have been described as worth visiting alone. The church's neo-Gothic design, with its tranquil park-like setting, enhances its appeal as a place of worship and a community gathering space. The presence of a unique maze on the grounds, noted as the only one of its kind in Thunder Bay, adds to its distinctiveness, particularly around Christmas, when events like the reading of Dickens' A Christmas Carol are hosted. The origins of St. Patrick's Cathedral trace back to the mid-19th century with the arrival of the Jesuits in the region. In July 1849, two French Jesuit missionaries established the Immaculate Conception Mission to serve the Fort William First Nation. This mission laid the groundwork for Catholic presence in what would become Thunder Bay, focusing on ministry to Indigenous communities in northern Ontario. St. Patrick's Church emerged as one of several churches missioned to First Nations, alongside others like St. Andrew's Church. The church was formally established as a parish in 1893, though its first physical structure, St. Patrick's Church, was constructed in 1892, coinciding with Thunder Bay's incorporation as a town. The foundation stone was laid on October 10, 1891, and the first Mass was celebrated on August 21, 1892. The dedication of the church occurred on April 29, 1893, with St. Patrick as its patron saint. For its first 6 decades, St. Patrick's functioned as a parish church under the jurisdiction of the Diocese of Sault Ste. Marie. It served a growing Catholic population in the Fort William area, now part of Thunder Bay, which was a key transportation hub due to its port on Lake Superior. The church's early years were marked by its role in fostering community and faith among settlers and Indigenous peoples. Well, that's something I did not know about it. In 1952, the Diocese of Fort William was created, carved out from the Metropolitan Archdiocese of St. Boniface and the Diocese of Sault Ste. Marie. St. Patrick's Church was elevated to cathedral status, serving as the episcopal see for the new diocese. This marked a significant milestone, recognizing the church's centrality in the region's Catholic life. Edward Quentin Jennings became the first bishop of the diocese, serving from 52 to 69. Now, I'm sure you noticed that there were pictures in there of a church other than St. Pat's Cathedral, and yes, those were the pictures of St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. Unfortunately, I didn't have any video in between the two churches because they were right around the corner from each other, so I just drove over and took more pictures. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of history on St. Andrew's. The origins of St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church date back to 1869, when Presbyterian services were first held in Fort William, a Hudson's Bay Company fort located on the banks of the Kaministiquia River. These early gatherings laid the foundation for the congregation, which grew as Fort William developed into a key transportation and commercial hub due to its strategic position on Lake Superior. In 1889, the first St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church building was constructed at its current site, 207 South Brodie Street, across from City Hall in what was then Fort William, now part of Thunder Bay. By the early 20th century, the congregation had outgrown the original church, prompting the church council to plan a larger, more ambitious building. On March 1907, the council decided to construct a new church capable of seating 800 to 1,000. And that's the church that we see there now at the corner of Brodie and Donald Streets, right across from City Hall. Now, coming up here around the corner is going to be St. Luke's Anglican Church. So, St. Luke's foundation stone was laid on September 17, 1890, using stone from the old Fort William trading post dating back to 1732. Donated by the McIntyre family related to the Hudson's Bay Company. First service occurred on December 14th, 1890, with Reverend M. Charles Kirby preaching in the morning and Reverend E. Jackson from Port Arthur in the evening. Now, coming up here, I'm just about to stop and take a few pictures of the church. In 1910, the church was moved onto a foundation and clad in brick veneer. Despite fire damage in 1916, the congregation quickly restored the structure and later built an organ chamber and church hall. A memorial furnace was added in 1930 and a bell installed in the steeple in 1954. A major expansion in 61 added a new entrance and increased seating, dedication made by Archbishop Wright in 1961. St. Luke served the South Fort William community for over a century and produced an honor roll memorializing parishioners who served in Canada's active forces during wartime. Well, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that about it either. Okay, now coming up, now that I'm driving away from St. Luke's Anglican, coming up is going to be St. Casimir's Roman Catholic Church, which is just up here a little bit more on the same street, right on Mackenzie Street. The parish was born from an initiative to serve the city's Polish-Canadian community, originally part of Holy Rosary Parish, and formally established in 1936 under Father John Wanoski's leadership. After Father Wanoski's death in 1941, Father Joseph Stankiewicz, known fondly as Father Stan, took over and spearheaded the construction of a dedicated church building. The current church building, which is now coming up on our left, was constructed in the early 1950s and blessed in 1953 by Bishop E.Q. Jennings, the first bishop of the newly formed Diocese of Fort William, which became the Diocese of Thunder Bay in 1970. The church served primarily Polish-language congregations, remaining a vital cultural center for Polish immigrants and their descendants. Father... No, I can't think of his name now. Father Stilla. Yes, that's the name. He served in this church when I was a kid. Now he's over at St. Pat's Cathedral. The parish marked its 75th anniversary in '89 with a special mass and banquet. Shortly thereafter, diocesan leaders consolidated St. Casimir's with St. Anne's and Holy Family under joint pastoral oversight, though each parish retained its identity and facilities. So, that's St. Casimir's for you, and now we're on the way home. We'll give you a little bit of music till I get to the driveway. Hey folks, here we are back at the house, and once again, through the power of the interwebs, I'm here for you. But I'm back at the house now, and that was part 2 in my series on Thunder Bay and area churches. I'm going to try to keep each one to about the 30-minute mark, roughly. So what I've been doing is I've only been featuring 5 churches in each episode. So that generally keeps it down to the length I want. Needed coffee. So here we are at the end of another video. I hope you all enjoyed this one as much as I enjoyed making it, because I did enjoy making it. I enjoy making all my videos, but this one was pretty cool. It was, some really nice architecture, especially at St. Andrew's Presbyterian. That was a really nice one. And what was the one by McKellar Hospital? Saint somebody. I don't remember now. St. Paul? Yeah, St. Paul's Anglican, right? Yeah. I'll have to look back at the video and make sure I'm right on that. But really nice architecture there, and they had a nice garden. And apparently, Thunder Bay's only maze. I'm not exactly sure where that is. I guess it's behind the church. I didn't see anything that looked like it could be a maze, but who knows? I mean, I think the rector house is back there and everything too. So anyway, that's about it for this week. So hopefully I'll see y'all next week. Hopefully you're enjoying this type of content and you'll come back next week to view it all. And God's willing, Daffy Duck willing, we'll see y'all in the next video. Ciao for now.